Good evening, everyone. I'm just waiting for a few other people to join in, and we will start shortly. So, guys, while we are waiting for other people, so in the meantime, let's start building one server. So open VMware and start building one server. Let me know in the chat window that how many server do you have currently in VMware. So I can see Hadi, Human, Shehbaz, Muhammad Faisal, Wasim. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five people are joined in, and so I want you to build one server, everyone. So what Shehbaz said, he has 2 servers. Hadi said 3 VMs. Okay, good. Okay, Wasim said it's okay. Please mute your mic, everyone. If you're not talking, please mute your mic so to avoid any background noise. So Shehbaz, you said you have 2 servers. What type of servers are those? What is the operating system on those servers? Hadi, can you also let me know what servers are those? Wasim said he has 2 servers. Human, let me know how many servers you have at the moment. Muhammad Faisal, please let me know how many servers you have. So for today's lab, we need 2 Windows 2008 servers. We'll go through the configuration, and so Amin Bhai told me that you guys went through the lab session. Human said 2 servers. And 1 client machine. Both are server 2012. Okay, so you all built server, Shehbaz said 2008 and 2012. Okay, good. This is Adnan. Wasim asked a question, who is the instructor? So I'll be the instructor in this training. So yesterday, in the last lecture, I was not there because I was moving from one place to another. So that's why I missed that day. So that day was considered as a lab session. So I am just waiting for 3 more minutes here, and I will start in 3 minutes. So in the meantime, so everyone shared. Shehbaz has 2 servers, and Wasim has 2. Hadi has 2. Please log into the servers, everyone. Let me know once you're logged in. So guys, we'll try to make it more and more interactive session. If you have any question at all, simple question, complex question, any type of question related to the training, please let me know. This is a training session. We are all learning, and we need to kind of be very vocal in this. Yes, please. Anyone can use mic. You can unmute and ask a question. You can whatever you want. I'll be very happy if you want to speak in the mic.
Hello, Adnan bhai, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so Adnan bhai, before start this session, I would like to clarify one thing actually. So the last week, if you in the WhatsApp group, have you seen my messages, right? So I was stuck somewhere, and few people come to help me out, but it didn't go through. It didn't go through. And so I took the outside help actually. And I mean by advise me to go to the tutorial, right? So if I if I have to use the tutorial, so why should I use this program? I'm here to learn something, right? But the thing is, nobody give me. I'm coming from the kindergarten side of the IT. So this is not a complaint, but I want to clarify this thing. If I'm here to gain the knowledge. If I want to learn the tutorial from the YouTube and other any section, so sir, I think I can. This program is not for me actually. I'm here to learn something, right? But I clarify a few things that I'm having problem. But I didn't get any answer from your side and by side actually. You simply said that just go for the tutorial. And I get the outside help. I have no idea how I manage this server. I made the servers actually. I made the servers, but concepts are not clear. If don't, take as my, just take this thing as my, not the
as a pain point.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I feel.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, somebody give me a lot of respect that hey, Adnan bhai give you knowledge and everything, but I'm really sorry, sir. I didn't get any point from you guys. So I'm I'm taking outside help is not the way. Hope you understand my point, sir.
Yeah, for sure. So I want you to, everyone, just clear your heart, clear your mind about this training. So one thing is that we just went through one lecture, and one lecture was kind of it was just an introduction lecture, okay? And within the introduction lecture, I don't expect all of the students become an expert of installation and configuration and everything. So this is one thing. Second thing is that we allocate time for this training, and I have other trainings too. And Amin Bhai has other trainings too. So we allocated this time for like 3 to 4 hours. We are here. We're here to help you out. And WhatsApp group is an extra help. So which means that if you have a question and whoever is conveniently available can answer the question. So it's not as mandatory as we must reply to all of the questions at the same time. So thinking of any training, in any training, whatever training you take, wherever you go in college, university, classes, they all start from 0 and then they start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you were having problems in the first lecture, this is very natural and you will be having problems. All of the students will be having problems, and this is why we are here to learn. So I'm so sorry that you asked the question and nobody was able to reply. I worked with another student even after the training on the same day. So we actually spent 1 hour after the training, and he asked me many questions. I don't remember the name actually, but sometimes if we are not available on WhatsApp group, this is not required. This is not actually mandatory for us to be available all the time on WhatsApp. So I'm sorry if you are expecting this type of help throughout this training, you won't be able to get this such help. But we can assure you that in every lecture, we'll go baby steps, we'll go step by step, we'll learn small things, and then we'll go from there. So that's, I hope that this can, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know the name of the brother, but honestly, brother, I just want to explain for you something regarding my perspective, because I was a student with Adnan a long time ago, and Adnan Bhai know about that one. And I completely understand what you have issue. I'm in IT field almost 10 years, but Adnan, by no, my experience is not good. And I always have a challenge. But this time, I again ask Adnan Bhai and Amin Bhai, let me join to the class. And I start to listen to the Adnan Bhai lecture through the video he shared, and at least 10 times. Honestly, after 10 years work in the industry, I never touch Active Directory because I always work as a help desk and level 1, level 2, and just yesterday it was after a long time, first time I could set up the server virtualization, application kind of like that. Just brother, don't be disappointed. This kind of issue is for everybody. For me, as an IT expert, work in the IT industry 10 years, I'm the same you. But just you have to make a concentrate on the video and what explain, and you do by yourself. Adnan Bhai knew that one because before that, always colleague helped me, but I didn't improve. But since I start and I say myself, I have to do something, as I explained for you, my result was totally changed, And you're more welcome if you want, ping me or you can call me or whatever. If you have any idea, I can share with you. But please don't be disappointed because whatever Adnan Bhai teach you, I don't want to say, in front of him. I always say, it's totally different what expected from, university I study computer science at university. I study in the college, Trios College here in Canada. But whatever Adnan Bhai teach you never see any place, honestly. If he gonna start for you, to teach you, you're gonna understand everything. I think we are one of the luckiest students here. Adnan Bhai is part of the, instruction for that course. Because honestly, I'm here 15 years in Canada, 10 years back home, and I had lots of computer class, but I never get anything.
Thank you so much, Human. Thank you for the feedback. So everyone, since it was just the first day, I know it was overwhelming, the lab. And so if there are issues, no problem, just go through this till the end of the training. And I can assure you that this will all be in your fingertips. But there is no shortcut to becoming an expert in this field or in any field. We have to spend time, we have to go through the pain, and especially on the first day I mentioned that we all have to think out of the box. So out of the box meaning we need to use all resources available, all resources. So what I can suggest that let's go through this training, and we'll see that till the end you will be able to understand, if not 100%, 80% of the concept. Okay. So I'm going to start here, and I can see there are many questions about connectivity, about a lot of things here. So again, one more time, sorry for missing the last lecture. Last lecture was, I know the lab that was provided to you was not properly explained by me. It should have been explained by me first, and then you should have followed the lab. But since we didn't wanted to miss the second day, so Amin Bhai suggested that let all of the students go through the lab. So you went through the lab, most of you were able to install the server. It was not totally not expected from any one of you to install a server after the first lecture. So it's a big thing that you were able to install, you were able to understand. If you were able to understand like 10% or 15%, that is excellent, because you didn't have any background on this. So it's very natural. There is confusion, there is a lot of gray areas, it's very natural. So I'm going to go through this, and we have to learn a lot before we can start driving server 2008. So I encourage everyone to post your questions here, and so I'm not going to answer the questions that require explanation at this point, because we still have to cover a lot of basics here. So I'm going to quickly read here. Wasim is saying that I have a following question before we proceed further. So the question number 1, how are we proceeding to manage the servers and the client machines, removing from AD domain and registration? As well, Windows migration, maybe I'm jumping here, but I need to know the line of action as well as the flow of training. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm talking about at the moment. So guys, the lab that was provided, it was provided so that we won't miss a day. So that was the main thing. And Amin Bhai did a good job trying to help you out in this, and you also did an excellent job trying to go through the things that you never knew. I know the installation was the very first time. So Wasim, the question you asked about Active Directory, you asked about group policy, you asked about the client and migration. To answer this question, we still have to spend at least 2 more weeks on this. So at least 4 or 5 lectures. After that, we will be able to understand, or everyone will be able to understand, what is Active Directory, what is a domain, what is registration, and all. So here, please allow us all to go through some baby steps here, and then we'll learn as we go on. But I'm happy that Muhammad Faisal opened his heart and asked this question, and I encourage each and every one of you to open your heart. I totally appreciate your time spending here. Nobody has time nowadays. I don't have time. No one has time. But if you are spending time here, it is a great thing, and I really value your time, and I want to give you back all of the things that is required, and that is everyone is here for. Okay, excellent. I don't mind, for sure. I don't mind everyone. So ask any question. I want all of the confusions to be cleared, and I want this session to be valuable for everyone. So if you have any question in mind, let me know. Write a question, unmute your mic, ask a question. But remember, this is actually today is the second lecture. So we are still going through some baby steps here. Okay, everyone. So let's actually recap what we learned in the first lecture. So I'm not going to go through the lab, the lab session you guys spent in the last week. It's because that I still have to show you the installation. I still have to show you the basic configuration. So once we go through that basic configuration, okay, sound quality is not good. Oh, okay. Okay. No, I'll try to fix it. It was too close. Yeah, the button was too close. So let me know if the sound is not good or the quality is not good. Okay, excellent. So first of all, let's everyone go through what we have covered so far. So I'm going to bring up my whiteboard here. So whiteboard. So what we have learned so far is this. Where is my pen? And here it is. So first of all, we all started with we all are gearing up to become system admin. system admin. In order to become a system admin, we need to become an expert on servers. So first of all, we need to become an expert on servers, understanding servers. And servers, by servers we mean there are two types. So what is a server? Server is just a computer. So it's just a computer. What other types of computer do we know? We know as client computers, and we know as server. So basically, server is just a computer. And the client computer, so when we talk about a client computer, we already know that it has a special operating system. So both are run by an operating system, server, and this is just a quick review from the last lecture, everyone. And bear with me here, people who already know this, and people, so in this training requires, there are people that are just stepped into IT. So I'm going to go here, a bit slow and fast as well. So the things that we already covered, so this is actually, these are the things that we require. We need to actually understand the context of this training. So context is, and we need to keep ourselves in the boundary, not to go too far and not to go too deep. That is not required. So here I have client machine. So first of all, it all starts from a computer, and computers are of two types, client and server, and these computers are run by OS, and OS for the client is Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and nowadays it's Windows 10. And servers, they started from Windows 2000. Server, it was upgraded to 2003, it was upgraded to 2008, it was upgraded to 2012, and it is upgraded to 2016, it is upgraded to 2019 now. So guys, I hope that you're taking notes, and these notes are required. So here, as we can see, and what was before 2000? Before 2000, the same server operating system was called NT. So this was called NT, and at that time, NT was known as new technology. So they actually introduced a new technology of servers back in 90s, sometimes probably back in 1990 or in 89 or something. So they call it new technology. NT is known as new technology. So new technology, and guys, I'll be taking a quiz, and in the quiz, I'm going to use the questions from this whiteboard. And I'm going to use those questions, and I'm going to ask those questions in the whiteboard that are normally asked in interviews. So in interviews, they want to test your previous knowledge, your current knowledge. So this is, remember that the first type of server, first version of server was NT, which is new technology. And then that was upgraded to Windows 2000, Windows Server 2000, and that was upgraded to 2003, 2008. So Alamgir asked a question, sir, can you type in whiteboard instead of using the pen if possible? That yes. Okay. Yeah, I can type on the whiteboard. Okay. Yeah, that's better. I can draw on basically, what I can do, that's a good suggestion. I know, sorry about my writing. And actually this is a pen, and the writing actually is showing worst. I know. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me open a Word file. Just opening a Word file, everyone, and just bear with me here. Good suggestion, Alamgir. Thank you. Okay, so we are here on day 2. Let me just, day 2 of System Admin Active Directory Expert. So what we are learning here, so we started with system admin. I hope the keyboard noise is not annoying anyone. So system admin is a person who is an expert on managing servers. So we need to manage servers. And what is server? Server is basically a computer. And computer is basically of 2 types. So computer is basically client computer and server. Client computer is basically has an operating system of Windows 7, Windows 8, and we will try all these operating systems. And server has, so we need to remember that it is a Microsoft Server 2000, 2003, 2008. So guys, while I am typing, and 2012, you guys can take notes as well, and I will share the file with you. But if you are taking notes, writing it down, just saying it will be stored. I mean, saying that along with me will help you store it in your in your long-term memory. So client, server, and these are the operating system. Now, so here server 2000. So we also talked about first version of server. First version of server was called NT, and NT stands for new technology. NT stands for new technology, and that was actually upgraded to 2000 and 2003. Okay, so here we also need to learn what is the life cycle of a server. What is the life cycle of a server? So server versions are released by Microsoft every 3 to 4 years, mostly 4 years. So server version is released every 3 or 4 years. Mostly it's 4-year cycle. Mostly 4 years. Okay, so mostly 4-year cycle, which means, as you can see, this is it was released in early 2000, and the next version came in 2003, and then the next version came in 2008, and after that, next version was introduced in 2020 and 16, and now 19. So it's every 3 to 4 years. Okay, so how do they release? So, I mean, this is an interview question as well. What is the life cycle of these servers? It's 3 to 4 years. And with 3 to 4 years, you can remember these numbers as well. 2000, 2008. Now, which ones are still alive? So the servers that you can see 2008, 2012, 2016 are still being used now. Alamgir is saying it's more clear now. Great. Also, you can use pics of the servers that ever expiration from whiteboard, explaining the whiteboard, and whenever you have excellent, very good. Yes, yes. Please provide your suggestions. Whatever can make it more understanding for all of you. Will apply all those techniques. The main idea is at the end of the training, at the end of this training, we all need to become an expert in understanding servers. So Understanding servers is actually the very first step in becoming a cloud admin. So for all of the cloud admins out there, they all need to become an expert. They all need to be an expert of this. So this is mandatory. So whatever can make this training simplify and more understandable. Okay. So the life cycle of a server is every 3 to 4 years. Now what's happening? So let's understand the servers here. Understand the server technology here. So I'm going to go back to the whiteboard and I need to draw here this time. Actually, I need to open, so I can say server 2000, server 2003. Let's see. Let's see the history here. So I'm going to change it to images. So version history, and it's, I think this picture is actually going far back. Back in 93, it was server, advanced server 3.1. Then NT technology, it was 3.5, 3.51, 4, then NT edition, then 4.0. So 4.0 was the most famous edition used at that time. So it was used for 4 years. And between these years, you see Microsoft was releasing version every year. So they started into 93 and they released another version 94. They released another version 95, 96. Then after 98, they actually started releasing the versions in 3 to 4 years. And there is a reason why they actually give this time for the release of these servers. And here we have another picture. Just to understand, we have Windows Server. Actually, this is something else. This is SQL Server version. Okay. So here, now let's understand what is the life cycle. Why is this life cycle important? So what happens is when a new server is, so I'm going to use a shape. So this is a new server. So let's say this is a new server, and so this is a new server, and in this server, so this server is released. So let's say this is a new server. Okay, so what are we trying to understand? We are trying to understand why is this 3 to 4 years difference in server version. So the difference in server version is because of security patches. So because of security patches. So what happens is as soon as a new version is released, so I'm gonna just use a pen here. Let's say Microsoft released this version in 2000. And or let's start talking about 2008, because 2008 is the oldest version at the moment. 2000 is removed completely; it's not available. 2003, you will find it maybe 1 to 2% throughout the world. It is removed; it's gone. And 2008 is still available. You can find 2008, let's say 15%. Server installation. Most of the servers at the moment are either 2012 or 2016. And then the servers will be upgraded to 2019 later on. For now, 2019 is not used. And we need to understand this life cycle. So in order to understand this life cycle, let's say Microsoft released today 2008 server. Now what happens is, now these servers are very important for all of the organizations. So guys, these servers are very important for all of the organizations. So why are these servers important for organizations? Because these servers have some very important applications. For example, let's take an example of eBay. Now eBay is a website, and everyone knows that eBay, people will connect to eBay to buy and sell stuff. And so what is eBay as a company gaining? eBay as a company is getting a lot of revenue from the server. So they're getting millions and millions of dollars from these servers that host the eBay website. So this server is a very, very important server for the company called eBay. And exactly in the same manner, for the airports, these servers are important because they are generating revenue. They are all generating revenue. So what happens if the server goes down? What happens if the server goes down? Definitely it will affect their revenue, and definitely it will affect their it will affect the company. So what happens? Let's talk about for a second that what happens if the server goes down. So if this server goes down, it will affect the company, and then in turn it will affect the employees. Why would it affect the employees? Because so the server is down, and since the server is down, people are not able to get to eBay, so they will actually try to go somewhere else. So if the users or customers are going somewhere else, their company will get less revenue, and in turn, they are getting less revenue, they will lay off people, so it will affect the job market. So I'm just giving you a very high-level example why this server is very, very important. So since the server is important, that attracts a lot of hackers. Since the server is important, that attracts a lot of hackers. So hacker is a person who can break into the server. And why would hacker need to break into the server? Because basically hackers can have many different motives. So hackers can have a motive, maybe it's a competitor company and they are sending hackers. So what? So they need to take down their business and take their customers. So this is actually one motive for a hacker, or maybe it's a banking server and they want to steal money. Or maybe it's a gaming server and they want to steal their user IDs and a lot of other stuff. So hackers, they break into the server. So when the hackers break into the server, Microsoft keep on releasing what is called security patches. So once the server is built, Microsoft start releasing security patches. So I would call this security patch number 1. So what happens is, so just like I said, every 3 to 4 years, Microsoft releases a server version. So every third Tuesday of the month, they release a security patch. So every third Tuesday of the month, so I'm going to write here. So another important thing that we need to understand is security patch. Security patch. Security patch is a small software. It's a small software that is, it's a small software that is made by Microsoft to protect the server. Okay, and security patches are released every third Tuesday of the month. So which means every month there are security patches released. And why the security patches are released? Because they protect the server. So this is an important thing to understand. So they protect the servers. So, and the thing that we need to understand, every third Tuesday of the month, Microsoft releases a security patch. So going back to our diagram here, so Microsoft released the security patch, and why did they release the security patch? Because they found some weakness in the server, and they made the security patch, and that security patch is now installed on the server. So security patch number 1, so next month they will release some other security patch number 2, and so on. They will keep on releasing security patches. Okay, so this is how they protect. I mean, this is not something new. This is exactly what happens on our phones as well. So every now and then your Android is being updated by Android company, because they need security patches, and why do they update these applications and these smartphones? Because they need some protection. They need extra protection for this. Okay. Alamgir is saying, whatever I am typing, this is better to understand. Okay, excellent. Alamgir, but I have to make some diagrams as well. So I will try to write as much as possible, and I understand that it has to be clear. So your comment is about that I should make the diagrams in the Word document, or is it fine I make the diagrams here and type in the Word file? Okay. So guys, everyone is welcome. You can unmute your mic and you can ask any questions anytime. I want this session to be interactive, and so don't worry if I'm going a bit slow, but this is all required to understand this. And shortly, we will start the lab as well.
So this is Alamgir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. This is much better now. I have seen your lectures. You always, use diagrams and these things while writing before every lecture. That's more understandable because it's clear writing. So I will appreciate if you do the same thing as you've done in your videos. That will be more clear for everyone. This is just a suggestion that you can think of, sir.
Sure. I will for sure. Okay. I mean, it will be more descriptive. I get your point. Okay. So what are we trying to understand, guys? We are trying to understand the life cycle of a server, and this will be over soon, the understanding. So first of all, what are we trying to understand? The server version. The server version started from 2000, 2003, 2008, 2012, 2016, and 2019. And the second thing we understood that each server version, there is a difference. Every new server version is released every 3 to 4 years. Every 3 to 4 years. This is second day. Now what we are trying to understand, what happens between 3 to 4 years. So what happens is, as soon as the server is released, Microsoft starts releasing security patches every third Tuesday of the month. So why I'm saying every third Tuesday? Because this is their schedule. So in the company, when you work as a system admin, you should know that every third Tuesday of the month, there will be a new security patch. So it's not sometimes every third Tuesday of the month, they release 4 or 5 security patches. Sometimes they release more security patches. Sometimes they release only 1 security patch. Okay. And these security patches are released based on they found some weakness on the server to be fixed, or maybe some enhancement to be done. So this is why they release these patches. Okay, so they keep on releasing these security patches, and once there are ample amount of security patches, which may be, let's say 20 or maybe 15 or 20 security patches, they released a collection of security patches that is known as service pack. So that is known as, and I'm going to write that in the Word file as well. For now, I'm just actually explaining that here. Service pack. So they release something called a service pack. Now, service pack is that collection of security patches that were released previously in few months. So which means Wasim asked the question, who updates these security patches and why system admin or directly by Microsoft? So yes, so these security patches are made by Microsoft. These all security patches are made by Microsoft and applied by system admin. Now, so this question is actually valid. So when Microsoft make these security patches, why these security patches are not automatically applied? So maybe Microsoft, this is what happens in our home computers. So we all have Windows 10, and Windows 10, and these Windows 10 computers are always being updated by Microsoft automatically. So what happens is, as soon as you connect to internet, your Windows 10 laptop, what happens is Microsoft release these security patches, their update service, they keep on sending these patches to protect our Windows server. and we don't even know, Windows machine, and we don't even know, and these security patches are being installed on Windows. So you might have that question, and Naveed asked the question, if the server is not auto update, then it installs automatically. Is this correct? No. So yeah, this is what I'm about to explain, that just like Windows 10 machines, they are automatically updated by Microsoft to protect these machines. Servers are not automatically updated. Servers are not automatically updated, and there is a reason behind this. The reason is because these servers are actually our Windows machine is not doing anything that is kind of generating revenue, or that is Windows machine or a normal client machine is not anywhere like a server. A server is doing a very, very important job, and all these servers have different type of applications. So thinking of these servers, these servers like, for example, a server in a hospital is basically keeping a patient record system. A server on an airport is keeping a flight data application, and a server in a bank, so in a hospital. And I'm just using these small examples because we need to understand the importance of the server in a bank and server on an airport. So server on an airport. So now what is the question? The question is why these security patches are not automatically applied. So there is a reason behind this. The reason is that sometimes this security patch can harm the server as well. So let's say the eBay, this server that is hosting an eBay application, if the security patch is installed, most of the time security patches are tested and then they are released to the servers. But sometimes this security patch can, in order to fix the weakness on the server, in order to enhance the feature on a server, it can disturb the running application of the server as well. So for that reason, in order to protect the application on the server, these security patches are not automatically installed. Instead, normally it is a job of a system admin. It is a job of a system admin to test the server, to test the security patches before applying them on a production server. So as a system admin, it is our job that whenever a new security patch is released, the system admin will take the security patch and test it on a test server. It will be tested on a test server, and then once the test is successful, then it will be applied to a production server. Then it will be applied to a production server. So this is why these security patches are not automatically updated on the server, and this is a job of a system admin to make sure the server, this security patch won't affect the running application. And it happened many times in the past that when Microsoft released the security patch and system admin without testing applied it on a server, and 20 or 30 servers went down immediately. Why? Because it closed down the port that was required for a certain application. And then now you can think of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of applications that are running on these different servers. So operating system is exactly the same. Operating system is 2012, 2016, but applications are different. So this is exactly like when a new medicine is released. Before releasing a new medicine, it is rigorously tested on first of all on animals and then humans, and then it is applied or released in the market. So this is exactly the same thing for system admin to test these updates and then apply them on the server. So that takes care of the question why these security patches are not automatically updated, because they can take down a system, a running system, because you're trying to fix something. So Wasim asked the question, do a system admin need a downtime to apply a service pack? Yes. So whenever this service pack or security patches are applied, the system admin would request a downtime on a server. And so for everyone, what is a downtime on a server? Downtime on a server is basically when you are requesting that, I'm going to apply the security patch this weekend, and mostly it is done in the weekend. So when it is done in the weekend, all the rest of the company will know. Actually, the management will know that maybe the security patch can take down the server. So basically, yes, the downtime is required. Human is asking a question, just a quick question. Narbai, did you record this class? Yes, this class is being recorded. Okay. So moving forward, so what have we discussed so far? Servers are very important, number one. And servers are actually released, server versions are released by Microsoft, number two. And number three is that these servers, every now and then, these servers require security patches. And when there are some security collection of security patches, then they release service packs. So they release service pack, this is called release service pack 1. And then after service pack 1, they keep on releasing security patches. So they keep on releasing security patches. And then they release out another service pack 2. So collection of service packs. So this is service pack 1 and this is service pack 2. Service pack 2. So now this is being done over the period of 1 year. So let's say this is over the period of 1 or 2 years. So now let's see how many service packs are released for Server 2012. So let's jump on to here and let's see. I'm going to type here Server 2012 or Server 2000. Let's check 2008 service pack. So for Server 2008, there were 1, 2, 3 service packs. So there were 3 service packs for 2008, which means that over the period of let's say 3 or 4 years, there were different versions. There were 3 different service packs that were released. Okay, and let's check for 2012 service pack. So for 2012, there were 1, 2, and 3 service packs were released. Okay. So now that takes us to our second question. Wasim, for some reason, if the service pack does not go successful, can a system admin roll back? Yes, it is always. System admin can roll back. This is why when updating, so everyone, the question is, it's a very good question. Let's say you installed a service pack and that disturbed the server. Can we roll back to the previous state? Yes, we can roll back it to a previous state, provided you took a backup. So this is a complete process. Patch management, this is system admins. One of the responsibility is to do a patch management. As part of the patch management, a person would take a complete backup of the server and then would apply a service pack. So if the server goes down, the system admin can roll back it to the previous state. But let's say if the backup was not taken and the server is down, then you should start looking for another job. Because you forgot to take the backup before the patches, and now there is no backup available, and now there is no server available because you installed the service pack. There is no way you can go back. The only way is that you now need to start fresh. So you will install a new server, new application, new configuration, new security things. It will be a huge chaos. Making a server that does not have a backup. So guys, backup is a very important entity. Backup is a very important before we install any service pack. So Alamgir has a question, is system admin responsible to keep server running 24 hours? That's responsibility of a shift. Actually, most of the time, system admin, as a system admin, you won't have shifts. Because system admin is a very is kind of a job that requires special skills. So as a system admin in very, very large organization, there might be shifts where there are thousands and thousands of servers, but most of the time company employ a system admin, a person that will be responsible for 24/7, 365 days a year. So you will be responsible for these servers, and it's not very difficult to be a responsible of these servers. So on one side, you're being paid well to take care of the server. On the other side, we have many monitoring solutions that keeps us up to date all the time. And plus, let's say if the server goes down in the middle of the night, most of the companies will give you overtime to work on these servers. So yes, you are responsible for these servers 24/7. This is your responsibility. And in order to make this responsibility easier, there are many monitoring systems that are automatically monitoring these servers. Okay, so good question. So guys, we started with understanding servers, security patches, and then service packs. So guys, when there are one or two service packs, after service pack, in the period of 2 years, when there are 2 years, Microsoft releases a major version of a light version of the same 2008 or 2020, and that is known as R2 version. So it will be known as Server 2008 or 12 R2. R2 version is actually it's a release 2 version. So release 2 version, it happens every 2 years. Almost every 2 years, so in the middle of the life cycle, so they release R2, and this R2 version will contain all the service packs, all the security patches, and the base operating system. So you can think of this as a most updated version. So which means that at any point in time when there is a R2 version of any operating system, we should go for the R2 version. We should never go for the basic version, because this R2 version will have access, will basically have all the service packs and all the security patches. And then once the R2 version is released, then even after that, they keep on releasing security patches, and then they might release maybe another service pack after R2 version. And after this, there will be a time when they have to do a major release. Major release meaning jump from 2008 to 2012. So now let me make it, let me actually try to actually make it more clear here. So here, now what we understood from this, so server, so I'm going to type here server versions, and server versions, so here I'm going to say every 3 to 4 years, MS release a major, MS updates release a major upgrade of OS, number one. Every third Tuesday the month releases a security patches, and when there are collection of security patches, MS releases service packs. So that will be SP1, SP2, and so on. And then almost every 2 years, MS releases R2 version of OS. MS releases R2 version of OS. So you will find Server 2008 R2. You will find Server 2012 R2. And the important thing about R2 is when R2 is released, R2 version must be used. for any new install. Okay, so now let's see if there is and how do you know that if there is an R2 version of the server? So I'm going to go here, and here let's say, so for server 2012 there is already a R2 version. So there is an R2 version of this, and here in the question it's saying is there a service pack 2 for R2? So even after R2 they keep on releasing service pack 1, service pack service pack 2 and 3 and so on, and then they release a major version. So Wasim asked the question, how do we know which version of service pack being used, and how a new system admin will know which version of R2 version is being used? So good question. So first of all, how do we know which version of service pack is being used? So I mean, we can go on to Microsoft site and then find out. So let's say we have the latest server version, which is 2019. So if I say 2019, I can go in here and I can learn about which version. So 2019 version, going in here and then go down to comparison of standard and edition, licensing and pricing. So here we can go here as well. But you know, so in Microsoft documentation, it's all available, which one is the latest version available. But for me to know, what I do is I always look at here. So if I type just to see that if how many SPs were there for server 2012, what I do, first of all, right, just by typing here server 2012, I know that there is an R2 version available now. So let's see if there is a R2 version for 19. For server 19, there is no R2 version available because server 19 is just released now. So which means the latest version of server 2019 is only the base version available. And most of the time, companies won't go with a base version because otherwise, only in special circumstances, they would go with a base version. But all of the companies would wait for at least Service Pack 1 or Service Pack 2 before they can start upgrading their servers. So here, the release date of Server 2019 is 2 October 2018. So this is actually 1 year back they released it, but there is still no Server R2 version on this. And Service Pack, so let's look at the Service Pack for 2016. For 2016, let's see if there is any R2. There is R2 version available for Service 2016. And what is the end of life for this? So end of life for, and this is the version, 2012 was released on this. And here 2016, and the end of life for this is 2027. And end of life for 2012 is 23, and 2008 is completely gone. So here we know that now that there is an R2 version of Server 2016 is available, and 2016 will go with 2016 in newer organizations. So this is one thing. But secondly, let's think of this. So I'm going to go back on this, that how do we select that which version to go for. So the thing here to understand is most of the time in large organizations, these decisions are taken by Microsoft. These decisions won't be taken by a system admin that we need to upgrade our server, or which version do we need to upgrade to. So remember that we talked about second level support and third level support. When you are at third level support, then you will be able to decide that which version to go for. But this is what we need to know about server versioning here. Okay, so now let's talk about servers. So this should be clear that every 3 to 4 years Microsoft releases a new version, and the latest version at the moment is 2019. 2019 is not in use. 2016 is in use. Most of the companies have 2016. Now, before moving further, we need to also understand this. Is it easy to upgrade a server? Is it easy to upgrade a server? Now, upgrading a server. What is an upgrade of a server? Upgrade of a server means upgrade from 2012 to 2016, or upgrade from 2016 2012, or upgrade from 2016 to 2019. So what does it take to upgrade a server? Now, so to upgrade a server, and before going there, there is a question. What is the difference between service pack, security pack, service pack, R2? Get confused. Okay, this is fine. So security patch is actually a good question. Let me go back here. So I'm going to write here, what is the difference between security patch? So here, so security patch. Security patch, a quick definition is, it's a small software, and I've already explained that it's a small software to either fix an issue, or enhance an operating system. So it's a small software, so it will be maybe a very small software to fix an issue or enhance an operating system. And so what is a service pack? Service pack is a collection of many security patches. So service pack, collection of many security patches. So service pack is nothing but collection of many security patches. So let's say if you have only one security patch, it's just a one security patch. If there are 10 security patches and you combine them together, that becomes a service pack. Okay, and R2 is basically collection of service packs. So it's a collection of service packs. So basically, instead of us going to install 100 security patches, we can now just go for R2 version, and that will include everything. So that's a bundle of security patches. This is just to make our life easier for R2 and OS. Okay, so it's a good question. Very good. So say that the question, enhance meaning increase the life of Windows. Actually, enhance means, where is the word enhance? Enhance means to maybe add new features. So here I'm going to add more features. So for example, on a smartphone, maybe later on, now on a smartphone you can log in with your face recognition. Face recognition is an enhancement to that operating system. So it's just an add more features. Okay, is it easier to upgrade the servers? Upgrade from 2012 to 16. Upgrade from, yes, in practical. So here I'm going to say in practical, it's easy. It's not that difficult. I'm not going to say easy. It's not that difficult, but it needs planning. It needs proper planning. So it's not easy. Let's say your company is running Server 2012 and now Server 16 is there, and your manager comes to you and says, let's go back to the drawing board and let's quickly try to understand. So what are we trying to understand now? We are understanding upgrading of a server. Upgrading a server. Now, upgrading a server is a big task for any organization. And in order to understand that, I have to draw and explain instead of writing. So here, so let's say we have a server. Now this server, again going back to maybe a bank server. So this time, let's take an example of a bank server, and I'll try to keep the writing clean as much as possible. So let's say this is a banking server. And what type of bank server? Now banks have number of servers. I'll give you an example of just one bank that I work with. I work with many banks for the servers administration, servers installation. Let's say any bank, they have anywhere from let's say 8,000 nowadays, 8,000 to maybe 15,000 servers. So they have 15,000 servers, and doing what? So these all servers are basically used to provide these applications for the server so that they can make revenue. Let's take an example of just one server that is handling ATM machines. So ATM machines, at the end, all ATM machines, they connect back to this server. And this server is not just one server. Maybe it's a cluster of many servers, and later on we'll be discussing the cluster of servers. So let's say this server, we need to upgrade this server. Now, whenever a new release of a server, let's say 2012, your company is running 2012 server, and now 2016 is released. And now your manager is saying to upgrade the server to 2016. What does it take to upgrade a server? So guys, in practical, it's not very difficult to upgrade a server. All you need to do on this server, take a CD of 2016, so installation CD of 2016 on a server, and insert the CD. So very simple. Insert the CD and then start the installation. So start the installation. So I'm just giving you an example of very high level steps. So insert the CD and install OS. And in few minutes, this 2012 will become 2016. So this is a very simple upgrade process. But guys, the upgrade process, it can upgrade the server, but who knows, when the server 2016 is installed, this ATM application will go down because it's not compatible with 2016. So the very important thing that we need to understand in upgrading a server is that, first of all, this needs planning, that all the applications that are sitting on the server are compatible with the new operating system. So servers can be upgraded, but the application might not be compatible. So we don't upgrade the server just like that, because this requires proper planning. Now, this is an example of just one application. In a lot of organizations, there are hundreds of applications sitting on thousands of servers. So hundreds of applications sitting on thousands of servers. And why I'm saying hundreds of applications sitting on thousands of servers? Because each application might use maybe 10 servers. So 10 servers being used by one application. And why I'm saying 10 servers for one application? I'm trying to make it simple. So 10 servers for eBay application, ebay.com. Actually, in reality, eBay, since it is a very, very busy website, and how many hits it is getting, maybe a million hits a day, people are buying and selling and all that, it might have hundreds of servers for just this application. So upgrading a server is an easy task, but planning for this is a difficult task. So normally, how much time would it take to upgrade for an organization to upgrade from 2012 to 2016? Normally, so if I say how much time would it take to upgrade the server to this, it depends on, for a large organization, it takes anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. 6 months to 2 years it will take for any large bank, large organizations to upgrade from previous version to a newer version. Why? Because all these, we will start planning, we will start upgrading one by one each server, and then making sure that once the server is upgraded, everything is working fine. So Wasim asked the question, when we upgrade a server, do we really need to upgrade hardware, routers and switches and firewalls? Well, that is the second part of an upgrade. Most of the time, these upgrades are done step by step. So it might be either that the company might first upgrade their hardware and then the software, or sometimes they will upgrade their software and then the hardware. So it all depends on how the company wants to upgrade their infrastructure. So when we talk about infrastructure is that there is always hardware upgrade and then there is software upgrade. So most of the time there is no direct relation between both, because hardware is basically upgraded throughout the year. Routers, switches, sometimes routers, and I'm not completely sure about their life cycle because this is being handled by a different team, the networking team, and they do the upgrade. And most of the time, our upgrades, the OS upgrades, are totally separate from these from hardware. So maybe this year companies updating on the operating system, and next year, or maybe after 2 years, they will upgrade their hardware. Another question from Naveed is, after upgrading the server, IP DNS settings remains the same, or do we have to reconfigure them? Also, firewalls and other corporate security needs to be disabled. So most of the time, so everyone, the question is, the configuration on the server, would it remain the same, or after the upgrade from 2012 to 2016, would it be different? So most of the time, we will try to keep everything exactly the same. Because if you change anything on a server after an upgrade, this application will go down. So guys, always focus on application. That if this application, we shouldn't be changing anything on this server. So yes, to answer this question, we will try to keep everything exactly the same, and it will be changed only in extreme cases. Okay, so guys, this takes us, so with this quick discussion, so upgrading a server, always remember that upgrading a server requires a proper planning. Upgrading a server requires proper planning. It's not just that. And how do you upgrade a server? Upgrading a server is really easy. Insert the new CD, install the OS, and it will be upgraded. But after that, if you just upgrade it like this, maybe the application won't work. So all the planning is taken to basically make sure that it is upgraded. So let me quickly show you a graph here for server upgrades. I mean, this all information. So I'm going to say server upgrade project plan. If I go here and change it to images, you will see that it will be basically, so here, let me server installation project plan. This is server installation, upgrade of SQL Server. And here I'm trying to give you, and at the end we'll have a complete lecture on this upgrade. So at the end, once we understand the server. So here, this picture is showing us the years, so server 2008, then there was server 2000 R2, and then here 2012, so they are giving this cycle, but anyways, let's look at this here. So what I'm trying to show here, what planning is required. So let's say right here, this is saying server 2000 implementation project. Here, they are saying that to configure the server 2000, it's system 1, and so keep the system. Let me try to get a simple example. I just wanted to show you that there is a proper planning required to back up to backend schema changes. No, this is okay. Okay. Anyways, actually, this is getting more complex, and I will share it with you. Later on, we'll do a complete upgrade. Okay. So the point here I wanted to make is the upgrade before upgrading practically. So here we said in practical, it's not difficult, but it needs proper planning to. So here, let me add a sentence and complete it to protect the applications on the servers. To protect the applications on the server. Okay. So now guys, this takes us to Server 2008 understanding. So what do we now understand about Server 2008 from the first lecture? So from the first lecture, we understood that Server 2008, it's a server operating system, number one. It's a server operating system. And secondly, to install this, server OS, we need to install a server OS, we need either a physical server or a virtual machine. So we need either physical server or virtual machine. Now guys, here I want you to remember a physical server. So physical server will be something like this. Because we need to make this proper in our memory. So physical server, let's take a physical server example. So physical server example is Dell server DL380. So I'm going to give you an example of Dell server DL380. Now DL380 is a server like this. It's a server like this. So the DL380, it's just a server. I mean, it's a server. When you need to buy a laptop, you go to a Best Buy. I don't know if Best Buy exists. Because when I was there 2 years back, they were kind of going out of business. But if Best Buy is there, oh no, maybe Future Shop went out of business. Okay, I don't know. So when you go to Canada Computer, when you go to a Canada Computer and then try to get a laptop, you basically select between different versions of laptop, and this is exactly like selecting a different version of a server. And you can see that there are differences between these servers. So this is Dell PowerEdge T450, which is priced at $5,132. There is another server from HP. This is DL380, which is priced at $6,400. Then there is a Think System SR570 rack server. This is a different type of server that is available. So at the moment, for now, I want you to remember, take an example of this one server, DL380. So in our notes, we're going to type that we have experience code. So I want you to take an experience of this server, DL380. Next time when I ask you that what server have you worked on, so you can give me an example of DL380. And DL380 DL380 is basically, if I go, this is HP DL380. HP, and this is Gen 9 DL380. So let's take an example of this server. So HP Enterprise DL380, keep in mind that you're actually in some computer store and you're trying to buy a laptop or a notebook. And this is exactly the same thing that so what do we look for when you buy a notebook? So you're looking at how much CPU will it have and how much RAM will it be there. So now we need to understand two things here, CPU and RAM. But before that, I want you to remember that there is this DL380 Gen 10. So for now, I'm going to take this link and keep it in the notes so that we can remember and we talked about the server. So this is the server that we talked about, DL380. Now, in reality, when you get this server, there is no difference between installation of this server and a virtual machine. Here, you need to do some extra steps, but it's not like 80% the installation is exactly the same. So what is different in installing this server? In installing this server always starts from a server disk. So it has its own CD that will start the server, and that will, after a few clicks, it will ask for the operating system. And once you provide the operating system, that operating system will be exactly like this operating system. So once the server is installed, it will be exactly like 2008 R2. So just here, you can see that this is a R2 version, and this is a server manager. This is initial configuration screen. So the server, when you install a physical server, this will be exactly like this server. It will have exactly like start menu and this menu. So there is no difference between this virtual machine and that physical server. So why am I mentioning a physical server here, guys? So I am mentioning here physical server because nowadays in the market, you will find at least 40% of physical server and 60% of virtual machines. So 60% are virtual machine, 40% of physical servers, but most of the time you will be working on a operating system of a server. So your time will be spent, most of the time will be spent on this part. In the background, it might be a physical machine or it might be a virtual machine. So here you can see it's a virtual machine. So this is, I wanted to give you that 360 view of both type of servers. Physical server will be something like this, and there are many different type of physical servers here. So one server that now we know is HP Enterprise DL380. HP Enterprise DL380, and let's look at the specs here. It has how many? It has processor cores. It has 6 servers, and the CPU type is Intel Xeon, and this is 8 cores server, 1.3 gigahertz, 8.25 MB of cache, and here the processor number is 1, and processor speed is 1.9, and memory is 16 GB. So now, in order to make it simpler, let's understand this on a whiteboard. So what are we trying to understand? We are trying to understand actually the major specs of this server. Why are we trying to understand the major specs of the server? Okay. So guys, can you please type yes in the chat window if you're present in the classroom? So let's keep on talking, and I guess that some people are not asking questions. I need to understand that how many people are present. So I have Ashish, I have Wasim, Muhammad, Human, Sayed, and Shabaz. So, and I have Alamgir. So who has not responded? I have Sayed. Sayed has responded. Naveed asked a question a few minutes back. Okay, excellent, guys. Okay, so very good. So how much time do we need a break here, or should I continue? What is the time now?
Or we can take the 5-minute break, sir, if you can. I mean, if you can.
Yes, for sure. It's been, we started 6:30. We started 6:30, and it's now 8 p.m. Okay. Okay, guys, let's take a 10-minute break, and right after the break we'll start. So we'll start exactly in 10 minutes. Thank you, guys. Yes, we'll start after the break. Hello, welcome back after the break, everyone.
Sir, I have a question. This is Mohammed Faisal Raza.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, when we are going to install the things, there are lots of things which we are just we are just following. Actually, we don't know the concept of everything. So, it's out of the current course question, but current out of the session question. But whenever we go, we'll hope you will clear out our all confusions, right? So most only
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
100%.
so mostly when we are going for making the server, that what I think is that we should know the the meaning of proper meaning of the activity what we are doing, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, that's the only thing. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Don't worry, ask any question wherever you have confusion, but on my side, I will make sure that each and everything is clear. So don't worry about this. Okay, so guys, just before the break, we started understanding server. We started understanding the server installation here. Now, before going on, let's go back here. So we were talking about a physical server, DM380, and a virtual machine. So when an operating system is installed, it is installed either on a physical server or in a virtual machine. Now, on a physical server, one thing that we need to understand in physical server or a virtual machine, we need to understand what is a CPU. Now, CPU is Central Processing Unit, and it is like a chip-like a structure. It is a chip, and chip, it is exactly like. Now, what are we trying to understand? We are trying to understand why do we have to spend $6,000 on the server instead of a notebook, instead of a normal computer. So if I go to a laptop here, and we can see that laptops are as expensive as $3,000, but normal laptops we can get it for $1,300, $1,400. Even we can get laptops for $700, $800 as well. And why do we need to spend this amount of money for a server? So from the first lecture, we understood that the servers are multi-user applications, and in today's lecture, we understood that servers have very important applications. Extremely important applications as eBay, as KGG, as banking or hospital applications. This is why these servers are important. But what makes them important? What makes them important is the processing power. It's the processing power that makes them important. So processing power is. So first of all, what is in CPU that we need to understand? So CPU is made up of cores. And I'm just giving you. So don't worry. I'm not getting into a lot of details about CPU because we don't need to. We don't troubleshoot a CPU. The only thing we need to understand about the CPU is the pricing model and a little bit of a technology. So CPU is basically a collection of cores. So CPU has two parts. So CPU has two parts to understand. Number one is physical, and secondly, core. So physical and core. What is the difference between a physical and a core CPU? So right here, if I can jump here on a whiteboard and understand. So first of all, in laptops, most of the time, so these CPU are divided into three types. So here I can say, so we are trying to understand CPU. CPU as a physical, it's just one chip. So it will be a square type of chip that we can see. This is known as a CPU. Now CPUs nowadays are divided into either they are i3 or they are i5 or they are i7. So I'm just giving you an example of this just to understand, and it's really easy to understand and remember all this. i3 CPU is a single physical CPU with one core. So most of the time, this is a single CPU. This is a single physical CPU. So first of all, what is a single physical CPU? Single physical CPU is it is just one chip and with one core. So it is said to be one core CPU. So this will be clear in a moment when I show you i5 and i7 CPU here. So here the second type of CPU is i5. i5 comes in dual core CPU. So dual core CPU, which is dual core CPU. Yes, core. So Muhammad, just bear with me a second. It will be all clear in a moment. When I draw all three of them, then it will be all clear what is a core and what is a physical CPU. So just give me a few moments here. So here, i5 is basically a dual core CPU. Now, what is a core? A core is basically, physically, it will be just one CPU. So if I say physically, it will be one chip, which you can see right here. But from inside, it is two CPUs. So inside, that we don't see, it is two CPUs. So that two CPUs is known as two cores. So two cores, if we say a CPU is a dual core CPU, so physically it will look like exactly one CPU, but inside it has a power of two CPUs. And the third one is i7. So i7 is something like this. So I'm going to say i7 CPU. i7 CPU is a quad core CPU. So it will be physically just one chip. It will be physically one chip. So physical, and it is quad core. Quad core simply means that this one chip has 4 CPUs inside. This is all that is. So basically, core is the actual CPU. So here it's saying that it will be just one core. So all the chips are exactly the same size. But inside, so if you say I need to buy, my laptop is i3. i3 meaning that it is physically just one CPU and one core. And here, if you're saying no, my laptop is i5, it is basically physically it is one chip, but it has two cores inside. So basically, this has double power of this CPU. So this is double power of the CPU. This is exactly the same in cars. So in cars, when you buy a car, it might be 4-cylinder, or it can be 6-cylinder. And in back home countries, we have 2-cylinder or one-cylinder car, one-stroke cars as well. So CPU, so i3 is single CPU. So these are all single physical CPUs, but this has double power because inside it is two CPUs, and this has even 4 times the power because it has 4 CPUs inside. So this is known as quad core, meaning 4 cores. So this has 4 cores inside. Now, in your opinion, which one will be more expensive? Which one will be more expensive? Obviously, that has more CPUs, that has more power. So this is the most powerful one, and it is the most expensive one. And this is, again, this is cheaper than i7, and this is the cheapest one. So this is why when you go into the market, you will find i3 as being laptops that you can find anywhere between 500 to 700, or maybe even cheaper. When you go for i5 laptop, they will be anywhere from 700 to maybe 1,000 or 900. And if you go for i7 laptop, they are anywhere from 1,000 and they go up to maybe 1,400, and sometimes they go up to 2,400 as well. Why? Because of their processing power. So next time when somebody asks you what is the CPU and what is the core, CPU is basically made up of 2 parts, a physical part and a core inside. So physical part is a physical chip, So let's look at it. Let's look at it right here. So I'm going to go to i3, i5, i7 CPU. So here, and change it to this. Now I give you a very high level example of this. So here you can see this is i5, this is i3, 7th gen, i5, and i7. So by looks of it, it's exactly the same. You can see that this is one chip, but it has 2 cores inside. This is one chip, exactly the same size, same thing, but it has 4 cores inside. So here you can see it's i3, it has number of cores 2, i5 number of cores 4, and i7 number of cores 4. So even i5 comes in 4 cores, but you need to understand that there is the price difference is, then there are different things that are here. So it has a cache memory of 3 to 4 MB, it has a cache memory of 6 MB and 7 MB. And so that brings us to our second topic, what is a cache memory and what is a memory here. So first of all, when you go to a list, the list goes bigger and bigger, and now that the technology has changed so much, they have different version of different CPUs. But as you can see, the main cores, the main CPUs are exactly the same. It will be either i3, i5, and i7. So there is not, you won't find i9, you won't find i11, i12, no. There are only 3 main categories of CPUs, which is i3, i5, and i7. Now their features might be different. This is exactly like it's a 4-cylinder car with a full option, or 4-cylinder car with a manual gear, or 4-cylinder car with an automatic gear, exactly like that. So Alamgir asked a question. Some i7 are 8 cores. That means that have 8 cores, which is the max core in one nowadays. Yes. So these CPUs have 8 cores, but this is so i7 has maximum 8 cores. But then there are server CPUs, server chips that I will introduce later on that has more cores. That has 44 cores or 48 cores, and those are very, very expensive CPUs. So now let's understand. So we understood what is a CPU. CPU is a simple chip that is inside that actually is the main running part, that is the main expensive part of a server. Okay. So the second thing that we need to understand is the memory. So what is the memory? What is the main purpose of a memory? So here, memory. So memory is a place where the information is the information stays. So now, in order to understand memory, I want you to remember this diagram here. So remember, what was the basic formula of a computer? What is the basic formula of a computer that we learned in the last lecture? That all the computers and all the CPUs are based on is input, and anything that you input is processed. Right? And then you get the output. So this is the main purpose of all of the computers. So this is the main purpose of all of the computers. This is the main purpose of a client machine. This is the main purpose of a server as well. Now the only difference between a client machine and a server is the number of CPUs. So client machine has mostly one CPU, one physical CPU, and servers have multiple physical CPUs. So client machine will have at the most the most expensive client machine will have one CPU nowadays. So this is 90% of the chance. It might be very rare that a client machine, a client laptop, or a notebook that we use at home have 2 physical CPUs. So most of the time client machines have only one CPU, and that one CPU can either be i3, that can either be i5, or that can either be i7. But in servers, we have multiple physical slots on a server. This is what makes the server expensive. Why? Because it has more processing power. So what are we trying to understand, guys? We are trying to understand the memory. Now, what is the main purpose of a memory? Now, before understanding the main purpose of a memory, let's understand this formula very quickly. So input devices, what are the input devices in a computer? A keyboard. A keyboard is an input device where you press 1 to ABC and you use, and do you have any other device in mind? Yes, mouse is an input device. And what is an output device? Output device is monitor and printer. Yes, very good. So monitor and printer, and what is processing all this? So all is being processed by a CPU. So this is the main purpose of a CPU. Now we need to understand now the purpose of a memory. So the definition that I'm about to give you, or the example that I'm about to give you, this will be stored forever in your mind, because memory is it's a very simple example that I'm about to give you. But before giving that example, I want to make you understand that when you make this VM, when we make this VM is made up of two very important parts, CPU and memory. And if I go to the settings of this VM, so let's say if I go to a setting of this VM, I'll right click on this and I can go to the settings. If you have a VM, guys, go to open VMware and then go to the settings of the VM. So right here, right click on this part, right click at the top, and most of you told me that you have VMs available. So at this point, I want you to go to the VM, the tab of the VM, and go to settings. So if you're at the settings, it might take just few moments to bring the settings back, and it shouldn't take this much actually. So in my case, yeah. So right here, it's saying, right at the top, it's saying memory 2 GB. So it has the memory 2 GB. Now, how many CPUs it has? It has only one CPU, one physical CPU, and that has one core. And how much further you can go on a VM? You can go up to 16 physical CPUs. Now, depending on your laptop, it will show you the number of CPUs here, or maybe it might show 8, it might show 4, but it doesn't matter. For one VM, you need only one physical CPU, and then you can add more cores. So most of the time, the thumb rule with VMs is, the thumb rule will leave the processor as is until it is required. Until if your VM is very slow, then we can increase the CPU and we can increase the core. That will give you more processing power. But now let's understand what is a VM, what is a memory. Now memory at the moment is 2 GB. Here it's saying 2 GB. Where does it start from? It starts from 4 MB. Now 4 MB, then it can be upgraded to 8 MB, 16 MB, 32 MB, 64 MB, 128 MB, and it goes up to 32 GB. So at the moment, the memory is 4 GB. I can increase the memory or I can even decrease the memory. Let's say whatever. And now, why would you need to increase or decrease the memory depending on how many VMs you need to run? And don't worry, don't go into if it is not very clear why do we decrease the memory, increase the memory. We will discuss that later on. It will go into more discussion. But at the moment, I just want you to see that memory is a very important component. Now, what is that component? What is the main purpose of memory? So going to a memory board here. Now, remember that we discussed this very simple formula. We discussed this that we press, we send instructions to CPU, and we send instructions and CPU processes them in microseconds. Even if there is a smaller than microseconds, milliseconds, or whatever seconds, it processes these instructions and then send them forward. Now these CPUs are very, very fast. Even i3 is very, very fast, and it has the capability to process millions and millions of instructions at the same time. These are not like older CPU like Pentium 1, Pentium 2, Pentium 3. If you are already aware of the history of CPUs, those days are gone. When these CPUs used to be slow, this CPU, even i3, is very, very fast CPU. Guys, with the CPU, there is a very important component that is attached to a CPU that is known as the memory. Now, the main purpose of this memory is that all these inputs that are sent to CPU, they're not sent directly to CPU. So this, I'm going to remove this part here. So these inputs that are sent to CPU are not directly sent. Instead, all inputs are sent to memory. And all these requests that are sent to CPU, they stay in the memory, and with their time, whenever there is a time for the CPU, they are sent to CPU. And then CPU processes them and outputs them. And so this area that I call is a waiting lounge. So when you're on the airport, you're all waiting in the waiting lounge before boarding the plane. Before boarding the plane. So you stay there. Why? Because you have to stay there in queue, and then when you turn, you will be sent. So memory is that place where all the instructions stay, and then they are sent to CPU, and then they are sent to output. Now, why is it important to understand? Guys, it is very important to understand. Why? Because let's say if you have less memory in your CPU, in your complete computer. Now, this makes up a complete server. This makes up a complete laptop. Let's say you have the most fastest CPU in the world. You have i7, and in your server you have 10 i7. 10 i7 means that it's a supercomputer, it's a fast CPU, but you have less memory. And if you have less memory, then what do you think? The server will be slow, or it will be this CPU will help you? I mean, thinking of this as let's say a horse carriage. Let's say there are 8 horses in the carriage, and that 8 horses are basically dragging the carriage. There is no memory here. Now that is a horse carriage is just the horses and the carriage. But in this case, here we have the horses, we have, let's say, 8 i7 horses, but that all depends on the memory. If the memory is small, it will make your complete server slow. Why would it make it slow? Because your memory does not have room for more and more instructions to keep. So all the instructions, they are kept here and then sent to the CPU. So guys, this is why it is important to understand if your server is slow, it might not only be the CPU, it might be your memory as well. So let's say if your server is slow, then what do we do? So currently my VM is 2 GB memory. So what I will do, I will increase it to 4 GB. So I will give more room here. I will give more room here so that it has more instructions, and because CPU is process hungry. So it takes up all of the instructions, it processes them and sends to the output. So the most important part is the number one, the CPU and your server. The CPU has to be strong. Number two, the second part is you have to have a good amount of memory in your computer. Now, what is a 2 GB of memory? So before going into a 2 GB of memory, before going on to this, we need to understand that if your server is slow, maybe it's time that you increase the memory of your computer. So memory of your computer. So Wasim asked a question, how do a system admin know that how much memory of a server required in an environment of 25 users? Excellent question. That how much memory is adequate for any organization. So guys, in order to check that how much, and that depends on basically how your server is doing. Now that we understand, okay, I'll answer this question on a server, Wasim. Just bear with me here. So let's quickly recap what we understand from this diagram. Number one, all the servers have 2 important components. Number one, CPU. So this is, I'm gonna number it. And second one, memory. The main purpose of a CPU is to take everything, process it, and then provide an output. What is the example? The example is, to run this example is, you can take an example of internet, a Google Internet. So let's say you as a user, you open Chrome. you open Chrome and you are browsing a website. When you type the website name, that website name is sent to the CPU. Is it sent to the CPU? No. It will be, the website name will be sent to the memory, and from the memory it is sent to CPU, and then it is sent to the monitor, on the monitor, and we all see this in a split second. So you just type the website name and it's right there. But in actual, it went through all this. So we need to remember this was just one instruction, and behind that one instruction, there were a whole lot of instructions sent to CPU, actually to open the page, to download the page from internet, and then show it to you on the monitor. So the two important components of a server is CPU and the memory. If the memory is low, if your waiting lounge is small, then obviously there will be people standing outside. Those people will be standing outside until there is a room in your lounge. So if your server is slow, maybe it's time to increase the memory, and that can fix the slowness issue on the server. And let's say you have a lot of memory, but still the server is slow, then you can think of updating the CPU. Now going to the very important question, how do you know that how your CPU and memory is doing? If your CPU is good, if your memory is good. So guys, for that, in the server, it provides an excellent tool to find the CPU and memory, and that tool is known as Task Manager. Task Manager. So now what I'm about to show you on the server is the usage of CPU and memory. Now that Task Manager is available in all Windows versions. This Task Manager is available on the client machines. This Task Manager is available on the server as well. So let's look at our client machine. So here now on the same computer where you're looking at the presentation, just go down, bring your mouse down to the taskbar. This complete bar, this complete area that has the start button, that has the icons, that has everything, that has the time on this is known as the taskbar. Now on the taskbar, just right click on the taskbar, right click, the other mouse click, and choose Task Manager. So guys, what are we trying to do? We are trying to find out how is our CPU and memory is doing. Do we need to upgrade the memory? And what amount of memory is required in our environment? So right click on the taskbar and go to Task Manager. If the taskbar is open in your computer, everyone, just say on the chat screen opened. It's opened. So just let me know if your taskbar is open. I'm going to open that one more time here. So right click on the taskbar and open Task Manager. And this is a normal, actually, this is the thing that we do as a system admin. As a system admin, we always go to a Task Manager whenever the server or a computer is slow, because this is where we can find out how our system is doing. And once the Task Manager is open, thank you, Naveed. Once the Task Manager is open, just change it to Performance. So here it's showing. So in the first tab, it's showing the names of the application. Thank you, Ashish. And on the second bar, here it says the Performance. And in the Performance, it's showing CPU and memory. So my CPU currently is my CPU is currently using 50 or 51% of the server. And at the moment, my memory is in use. So memory, I mean, you can look at the graph for a quick understanding, or you can look at the numbers. So let's forget the number for a second. But here you can see the graph of both. So graph of CPU is actually in the middle, and the memory is below middle. So in most cases, in most of the servers, it is said if you are below 50%, it's good. But if you're above 50%, then it's a point to think that maybe your CPU is too busy, or maybe your CPU is slow for your laptop or your server. But if it is above 70% all the time, it means that it is time to upgrade the CPU. So in most of the environment, So Sayed, can you take a screenshot and share it on the WhatsApp group so that I can see that what is taking 90% of your laptop? I mean, obviously, because you guys have two machines on as well, so that is why the CPU, and I'll explain that why it is 90%. But if in thinking of this, I mean, in your laptop, we already know I have only one VM running. I have only one VM, that's why it's on 50%. But if you have 2 or 3 VMs running, then it will be obviously using more CPU. The same CPU will be divided among the VMs. So it's fine. We know the reason. But if your VMs are off and it is still on 90%, then it's the time to worry about whether you have a slow computer. But if your VMs are on and you have 2 or 3 other machines are running on your same laptop, it's fine. So guys, so from this slide, we understood that in order to see as a system admin, let's say your manager or your clients are saying, we're getting a slow response and you need to fix it. So we need to have this in our mind. All the servers are made up of input, process, output, number one. And who does the input? Keyboard and mouse is doing the input, and output is being done by monitor and printer. And then so processing is being done by CPU, and CPUs are of 3 types: i3, i5, and i7. And always when it comes to a CPU, guys, store this in your photo memory. So photo memory is, now this is not exact. I mean, this is not all the information that is out there in the market about the CPU, but this is actually the base information. If you are able to understand this difference, then this means that you understand about the CPU. A CPU can be expensive. CPU can be cheaper. CPU is cheaper if it is i3 because it has only 1 core, or maybe maximum it can go up to 2 cores. i7, i5 maximum. So i5 starts from dual core and it can go up to 4 cores. It can have 4 cores as well. But since it is i5, it is not as fast as i7 because it has lesser memory. And then i7 starts from 4 cores and it can go up to 8 cores. It can go up to 8 cores. Okay, so CPU is important for a server, number one, and secondly, what is important for a server is the memory. So memory is important as well because memory is what? So this diagram, please store that in your photo memory, draw it on a paper because this is the waiting area. If the waiting room is small, then obviously there are instructions, there are requests that are sitting out there. Once they are inside, then they will be processed. So your CPU is very fast, and you spent like 6,000 on a server, but you have less amount of memory. Now that also, I mean, this should be also understandable that let's say even if you have 16 GB of memory on this, if you have 16 GB of memory on this, 16 GB, you can think of 16,000 kilobytes, and I'm going to explain that in a moment. But let's say 16 GB is a huge big memory, but this can be slow if you have a lot of applications on this. Let's say this is a server and it is supposed to have this server, this machine, you will install one application number 1, and then you will install the application number 1, then you install application number 2, then you install application number 3. And then your manager is keep on saying, we bought this server for 6,000 and I'm not going to buy another server just to keep installing all applications on one server. Guys, at one point your server will slow down because the CPU can process only, it can go to its maximum usage, and memory can go up to maximum usage. So when we plan a server, we also plan that how much memory, how much applications it can take. Now the question is, how do you know that how much applications can be installed on a server? So the answer lies in Task Manager. So we keep on monitoring Task Manager that how fast or how slow our server is. Let's say after installing application 1, and application 1 was so heavy that it took maybe 60% of the CPU. If it took 60% of the CPU, then there is no point of installing second application. You can talk to your manager and tell them, application 1 was so heavy that it cannot take more than one application. Now guys, let's jump onto a server. So this is my server 2008. In order to see that how my server is doing, there are two ways to find out. Number one, when I click on Start menu, it opens like this, very fast. So I'm opening it, or is it opening in a slow pace? Now, all of your VMs, all the VMs you all have, it might be slower or it might be fast. Now, depending on if your laptop has less resources, then it might be slow. So first of all, in my case, it is fast. Okay, so this is one thing of knowing. Now, how do you know the numbers? I mean, how do you make sure that how your server performing? It's the task manager. So right click on your taskbar on a server. So I'm on a server, I'm right clicking on a taskbar, and I can go to Start Manager. In the Start Manager, I can change it to performance, and in the performance, it shows us that my CPU on a server is only 18 or 7% or used, and then my memory is this much. So at the moment, if you're not able to understand the numbers, it's fine, because it is just the beginning, but you can look at the figure, you can look at the diagram here. So memory is not even 50% used, which is fine. Okay. So Wasim is asking a question, can we install unlimited applications on a virtual server, as we know that we can increase the memory or virtual server? Yes, for sure. You can install. So let's say if your company bought a very expensive server, and by expensive server we mean that, let's say, looking at this server here. So this is $6,000 server, and this server, when we go into the server, maybe the server has, let's see how many cores the server has. So they are saying this server can go up to, where is the core? So processor cores available, 6 cores. It has 6 cores and it has 1 physical server. So now with this, you can see that by default with $6,400, you will get 1 physical server with 6 cores, and 6 cores, and the server type is Intel Xeon, and it has so this can go up to 8 cores here. So this can go up to 8 cores and 1.9 gigahertz of CPU. So don't worry about the numbers if we don't understand at the moment. We'll go into more details on this, but yes, here it's, so your question is how many applications can we install on this? Yes, you can install unlimited amount of applications. We just need to keep an eye on that this information, the CPU is not it's not exhausted. So Wasim is asking a question, but this physical server I'm talking about is virtual server capacity. Yes, virtual server capacity. Again, can you rephrase your question, Wasim? So in both cases, either it is a physical server or a virtual server, it both have CPU and memory. Physical server will have more memory, and virtual server will use the memory of a server. Okay. So now, what is the time now? The time is, now we have, it's 8:45, and we have around 40 more minutes. Okay. So guys, with this discussion, we'll carry on with this discussion in tomorrow's lecture. Carry on with the same discussion and keep understanding these basic knowledge, and let's spend the next 40 minutes in the lab. So Wasim said you gave an example of physical server while I'm asking the capacity of a virtual server. Okay, can we install the unlimited application or virtual server? Can we, as we know that we can increase the memory? Yes. So okay, I get the question now. So yes, I mean, even if it is a physical server or a virtual server, we can install unlimited number of applications. The only thing we need to keep in mind The only thing we need to keep in mind, actually one of the things that we need to keep in mind, that the server, either physical or virtual, is not exhausted. By exhausted, I mean if I can install one application, the CPU can go higher and higher and higher. So if this CPU is more than 50%, we don't install any. We stop installing applications on this. But we need to keep the 50% of the room for the processing. Even if it is 60% is fine, but it shouldn't be more than 50% at most of the time. So in large organization, this is the formula that we follow, that we keep the CPU below 50%. So let's say, what is the big difference between physical server or a virtual server? Now, this is why this virtual technology is so famous nowadays, that most of the companies have moved from physical to virtual server. Now, let's understand this one point here, that upgrading physical server is difficult and upgrading virtual server is easy. So let's say I have two servers. I have physical server. And then I have virtual server. Now, let's say both of these servers have one CPU to start with. So they both have one CPU to start with. Now, let's say you have a same application on both of them. So application 1 on both of them. So after 6 months of usage of this application, you're feeling that server is slow. Now and when you go into the task manager, it shows that CPU is being utilized. CPU is sitting at 70% on task manager, and same goes for this machine. So which means that now it is time to upgrade the CPU. So now this is where the main difference is. Upgrading is a huge difference. Upgrading of the server. For a physical server, in order to upgrade a physical server, first of all, we need to check that can this server be upgraded. So is there a provision in the motherboard? So let's look at this CPU. Let's look at this CPU here. So I'm going to go inside the motherboard of a server. So we can go into server DL380 main board. If we look at the main board of this server, which is right here, so this is the main board of a server. So this is DL360 and this one 380. So here you can see that on this board, there is a provision, there is one CPU slot and the second CPU slot. Now, in order to have a second, so this can only go up to 2 CPUs. It cannot go up to 4 CPUs. So let's say if this server already has 2 CPUs, it cannot be upgraded. But let's say, yes, Sayed is asking, can we get the lecture video? Yes, for sure, we can get the lecture video for the previous and this one as well. And I'll come back to your question, Alamgir, in a moment. Just let me explain this one point. So we are talking about upgrading a server. So first of all, upgrading of a server is not easy, because you need to look at this, that if this server can be upgraded. Let's say if the server can be upgraded. Now, let's say by looking at that main board, you found out that, you know, there is one more slot that where you can buy one more CPU. And that one more CPU might be maybe 1200, which is not a big cost for a company, large company. So now the thing here is, first of all, you need to you need to buy that CPU. I mean, the company, you need to buy a CPU. You need to place an order to buy that CPU, one CPU, and that might take maybe anywhere from 1 week to 4 weeks in order for this to receive. So once you receive that CPU in few weeks, then you need to open the server and then upgrade the server. So this is why, guys, it is very difficult to upgrade a CPU. It can be upgraded, first of all, if it can be upgraded. If it is upgraded, it will take anywhere from 1 week to 2 weeks or maybe 2 months. In large companies, this billing has to go through a finance department, and they will approve it, management approve it, and then it goes on and on and on, and it will be a very slow process before the server can be upgraded. On the other hand, a virtual machine can be upgraded in minutes, not even days, in minutes. And all you need to do is to go into a virtual machine manager. So here, if I need to upgrade this now, I can just go into the setting of this virtual machine, which is exactly working like a physical server. And as soon as you're in the settings, you can just change the CPU. I can go here and say here that it can be changed to 2. So if you increase the CPU and you press OK, it will be increased. Now, in this case, it won't increase it because CPU change, all you need to do, it needs to shut down, and then you will be able to increase the CPU. And I'm going to do this. And it's not recommended that you just shut down. You shut down it always from here. I'm just for the sake of time, I just switched it off, and I'm going to go into this processor, and I clicked on this, and I will increase the CPU and press OK, and then start the server. So I started the server with 2 CPUs. So you see, there is a huge difference between a physical server, and this is why companies move from physical to virtual servers, because it's so easy to upgrade, it's so easy to maintain virtual machines. Okay. So Alamgir asked a question: when some applications are in the physical server or virtual server or in the rest mode, then doesn't it increase the memory? When some applications are in the rest mode or the idle, what we call it as a idle mode, yes, they will be in the memory, but they won't be using that memory as much when they are in use. So at rest point, at idle mode, they will have only their immediate files, immediate application, immediate part of their application in the memory, and so this is why memory will be used less. But in the active mode, it will definitely use more memory. Okay, and now we can see, if I go back here, let's see how many CPUs it has. Going to the settings. So here it wants me to restart the server. I can restart the server because it just recognized that there is a hardware change. Okay. So guys, and it has 2 CPUs. It has been upgraded to 2 CPUs. So guys, in today's lecture, what we have learned right from the start. So going back here, guys, we started talking about here the type of servers. We talked about client and server, quick revision. Then we talked about different versions of a server. Then we talked about every 3 to 4 years the server versions are changed. Then when a new server is released, then there will be security patches released by Microsoft. What is the main purpose of the security patches? The main purpose of the security patches are these hackers. So these hackers, because they keep on breaking into the server, and Microsoft keep on making it more and more stronger by providing security patches. When there are many security patches, then they collect all the security patches or make them in a group and then release a service pack 1. What is the main purpose of service pack? So that you don't have to one by one install security patches. All you need to do, install the latest security patch. And how do you know which one is the latest security patch? What I do at work is, in order to find out what is the latest security patch, because nowadays Google is our main source of information, I would just write the number 2016, and first of all I need to find out that if there is R2 version of 2016. If there is, then Google will definitely show, because every day people are searching on Google. So I find this to be the most reliable information. I mean, I understand you might say, the real documentation is the most reliable information. Yes, it is. But this will give you answer in seconds. And the other example I can give you, let's say if I need to find out if there is R2 version of 2019, when I write R2, then it will give me, it gives me this information, and let's say a release date of R2 Release date of R2 is, there is no R2 at the moment. There is no R2 at the moment for this one. Okay, Sayed, Sayed sent a message. Okay, and then we discussed about service pack. So this is important for today's from today's lecture. A server, service security patch, and then the service pack, and then collection of service patches is known as R2 version. We always install the latest version. Okay, and secondly, we also talked about upgrading a server. So upgrading a server is easy, which is right here. So upgrading a server is easy, and you can upgrade from 2012 to 2016, upgrade from 2016 to 2019, and so on. But in practical, it's not difficult, but we need proper planning. But why do we need proper planning? We need proper planning to protect the application. So this should be clear as well. Guys, if there is any question about this, I mean, this is very simple application. This is very simple information, but still it's a lot of information. So I would encourage each one of you to go through this information again. Or if you're able to explain it to someone, maybe during the week, set a time, make groups among you, and then, or if you're not able to make groups, I can make groups of 2 or 3 people, maybe meet somewhere if you live close by at a coffee shop, and then discuss this. But guys, in order to understand this, in order to really get into the field of IT, we definitely need to work hard on this. And once, after working hard on this, people are earning good amount of money on this. But guys, so I'm here. I'm for sure here. I'm all dedicated for this training, and you can ask me any questions. I can be here in the next 1 hour, even after the training as well. Whoever has a question, we can go through a lab exercise as well. But at the same time, please review this information. Please review this all information again. And before the next lecture, this should be all on your fingertips. At least whatever is written here, whatever is on the whiteboard, this all has to be on your fingertips. So we talked about central processing unit. We talked about server has 2 parts and cores, and we understood by an example that there are cores and physical server. I can write here that we talked about I3. We talked about I5, we talked about I7, okay? And then these are different cores. Core is CPU, virtual CPU inside physical CPU. So this is virtual CPU inside physical CPU. So core is virtual CPU inside physical CPU. Okay, and then we talked about, what do we talk about? Okay, we talked about memory as well. Yes, I will upload this document as well, the document that I made, and physical and this. Okay. Now, guys, in the last 20 minutes or so, what we need to do, we need to go through the installation. Go through the installation that we did. So here I'm gonna write steps for the installation. I know that there are, and okay, let me write here memory. So memory, we can type here waiting area for information to be processed before being sent to CPU. So memory is that waiting area. Then we discussed how to troubleshoot a slow running server or computer, and we used the tool, Task Manager. So guys, Task Manager is that step. So interview question is, how do you troubleshoot a slow running server? How do you, if the server is running slow, how do you know, how would you find out if the server is running slow? So your answer is Task Manager. Guys, I mean, Task Manager is that one tool, and in Task Manager we go to Performance tab. So Task Manager is one tool that is used by all system admins and cloud admins. I mean, without this tool, you won't know that what is the bottleneck, what is slowing down the server. And this is exactly in the cars. In the cars, we have computers, but I mean, how do you know if the engine, why the engine is slow? I mean, you can accelerate a car, but how do you know if the engine is slow? You know that nowadays all cars are computerized, and they use something called OBD connectors in the car. So in the car, they have OBD connector to actually find out exactly the same thing. So this is that connector that connects to the computer, and that will show you the different parts. That will show you why the engine is slow. What are the things? So all cars have this part. This is, I mean, I'm just giving these examples because this is our day-to-day examples. And servers is not any different. Servers are actually servers are actually made by following human examples. I mean, server is processing, we all process, we all get inputs, we all do outputs as well. So basically, the tool that we use, Task Manager. What is the most important thing about the tool? We should know how to open this tool. So in order to open Task Manager, we right click on taskbar and click Task Manager. Click Task Manager, and I'm going to save this document. I am going to save this document. No, not here. So day 2. What did I do? Where did I save it? Okay, I'll share it with you after this, right after the class. So the next thing before we conclude today's lecture, I need to, so here, we need to spend a little bit of time installation of a server. So installation of a server, when we install a server, what do we need? First of all, we need, so on a computer, on a laptop. Now I'm going here on a very basic level. So guys, for everyone, please don't be shy. Ask any question. Ask any question about the installation, about the things that you saw in the installation. I know that the sheet that I provided as a lab, it had many things. It had the IP address. It had the DNS settings, and those things will learn step by step. But so I'm going to go here from the basic to all. So here, installation of a server. So on a laptop, you do need, we need a VMware software. Okay, and we all have now VMware software since we all have a virtual machine. So we need VMware software. So I'm going to say install VMware, and we all know that. Install VMware software. So once it is installed, then what else do we need? We need, what else do we need? We need, the OS ISO file. So we needed OS ISO file. Now OS ISO file is, we need Server 2008 ISO. We also need Server 2012 ISO. We will be installing Server We also need Server 2016 ISO. So we need all these files, and I will upload 2016 and Server 2019 as well. We will install all of them, and then then we install the file, and then we attach it to. Naveed asked a question for virtualization. Other companies are using same VMware like the one we are using, or they are different? Very good question. So with VMware is so here, let me write here, what is VMware? So answer is, VMware is a company, and Naveed, I'm just replying to your question here, and it will be clear in 2 points. VMware is a company that makes virtualization software or application. And there are 2 types of virtualization software. 2 types of virtualization software. Number 1, enterprise level virtualization software, that is known as ESXi vSphere. And this software is for enterprise level. This software is used by large companies. This software is used by all companies for their production, or this software is used by all companies for their production or real environment. Okay. But the second type is VMware Workstation, the one that we are using. VMware Workstation, it's a virtualization So this is used for, so we are using VMware Workstation that is used for the training and testing environment. So the one that we are using is this, but the enterprise level virtualization software is called vSphere, ESXi vSphere. So now in terms of being a VM, there is no difference. So when the VM is made, so the console for ESXi and vSphere is different from VMware Workstation. But otherwise, once the VM is made, it will be exactly like this VM. It will be exactly like this VM. So, so this is So is there a difference? Yes, and ESXi and vSphere is a full-fledged application, enterprise-level application. So what is, I mean, this testing software, this evaluation software will show you virtual machines as this. So I have all of these virtual machines, and you can click on a virtual machine and you can log into a virtual machine and so on. Whereas ESXi will be something like this. So I'll show you. And so I'm going to show you vSphere console. So vSphere console will be something like this. So here you can see on this side, this is exactly the same thing as VMware Workstation. On this side, you can see virtual machines, and you select a virtual machine, and on this side, you will see it. So the main difference is this is enterprise level VMware vSphere environment, and VMware vSphere is actually a full-fledged training and full-fledged certification. So which is actually part of the full track that we teach. So this is, I mean, without this, you cannot become a system admin. or a cloud admin, because this is part of this. But enterprise virtualization, so here the things that we are using here, it's for the training and testing purposes, and in all colleges and universities, we use VMware Workstation to simulate all the VMs. But when the VM is made, there is no difference between this server or the server that is hosted on the vSphere. Now, read asked a question, another curiosity, how a virtual server hooks up with clients to work with. This is something I really want. Okay. Yeah, so how a virtual server is hooked up with clients to work with. Yes, so, I mean, in other words, you're asking a question, how is the server, how the server will be used by the client? So I think if I can understand this question, the question is how the server will be utilized by the client. So let's say I have 10 servers. Now, how the clients will use it? So guys, so to answer this question, sometimes clients won't directly use the server, they use the application. So for example, going into here, and this is a very important question. I'm glad that you asked this question. How the server will be used? So right here, I mean, if there is no physical at workplace, if there is no physical server at workplace. First of all, we need to understand that without a physical server, there cannot be a virtual server. I mean, your company have to, so let's say this is company number 1, and they need to, so why a company needs a server? The company needs a server because they need to deploy some application. So for eBay or for KGG or for any website, so the main purpose of the company is to have a website. And why do they need to have a website? Because they have clients. They have clients that need to access the website, and from the website, this company will sell their product. So for the company, this is their view. They have customers, and they have a website. But in terms of IT, it doesn't look like this. In terms of IT, company number 1 needs to have a physical server, number 1, and on the physical server, they need to host this website. So this is a physical server, and they will host this website, and then these people, the customer will be able to access the website. And who is handling the application and the physical server? It's you as a system admin. So this used to be like this. From the beginning, it was used to be like this, that companies will host a server and they will hire a system admin who will make sure the website is working and the physical server is working. But now the environment is changed more. So now the company, they can have one physical server, and then with the virtualization software, they can install more servers inside one server. So instead of, they still have a physical server, but they have now many virtual servers inside. And the customers are still the same. Customers are connecting inside the server. So company has to buy one server, but they can have more physical servers. And now the latest and the greatest is that companies don't even need a physical server. Why? Because companies can directly get the virtual machine from the cloud. So companies would go to Microsoft and they would say, I need 2 VMs. So this is the latest. So company doesn't have to even spend $6,000 on this server. So this is why cloud is getting famous. So company will just lease or rent these servers for maybe let's say $120 a month. $120 a month, and they can still serve their customers. So now you see the big difference between a cloud and the real environment. In real environment, they have to keep the server, keep maintaining the server, upgrading the server, patching the server, and so on. But here, now the same company doesn't have to do all that. Okay. So what is the reason, Naveed asked a question, what is the reason of making multiple virtual servers within and inside one server? What is the reason behind? Okay. So guys, another important question, and that important question is, what is the main purpose of having so many virtual machines inside? Obviously, to save cost. I mean, long time back when there was no virtual machine, your company will buy 4 physical servers instead of 4 virtual machines. So if you buy 4 virtual servers, 4 physical servers, and each server is $5,000, so that goes up to $20,000. And at the end of the year, this server is 5% used, this server is 10% used, this server is maybe 2% used. So this is where they realized that they can have many servers in one physical server. So we can go into that discussion, but it was a good question. Guys, since we are running out of time here, and tomorrow we'll continue with the lab. So today I wanted to set a pace on this. Now for all of you, please remember that this is, I mean, we're going from basic to advanced level, and we need to, so I'm covering all the basics here. I'm not going into too much of a basics because we don't need huge, big understanding of basics, but we need to understand the very important part of IT. So tomorrow, since we don't have any time, and I think that some of you have to go to work tomorrow, so for that reason, I mean, otherwise I would have shown you the installation. We can go through the installation step by step and actually work with these things. So guys, if you have basic questions, write them down so you have time. You can ask those questions tomorrow. I try to answer all of the questions, and I try to answer the WhatsApp, but you see, I have lot of students. I have lot of students, and I have lot of groups in my WhatsApp. You will be amazed how many questions that when I am dedicated to this time, this is your time, and I try to dedicate all my time, this time for you, and try to answer the questions as well. So I encourage everyone to help out each other as well. We need to actually, we need to use all our resources in this. So here, you're most welcome. Muhammad is saying this is helping a lot. Okay, you're most welcome. I'm glad. Alamgir, how much difference between a cloud admin and a system admin? So it's a good question. Alamgir, actually, the cloud admin cannot survive without a system admin. So for any cloud admin, a cloud admin cannot be a cloud admin without being a system admin. So which means the cloud is handling this part of the cloud, this part of the data center. But without understanding of a server, nobody can become a cloud admin. So becoming a system admin is the first step to become a cloud admin. Okay. So I think I'll stop here for today, and tomorrow we will continue from here. You're most welcome, guys. I'm glad that all of you are dedicatedly spending time. We'll start at 6:30 sharp tomorrow, and then don't worry about the timing. If this can go up to 2 months, I will be with you on this, but I want this to be on your fingertips. I want this course to become the time you spend is valued. I want you to remember that you remember all of the important concepts before we move on to any other next training. So don't worry that if it is slow, if we are going slow, it's fine. We'll spend more time and we'll try to make it perfect what we are learning. Okay, guys? Excellent. And this is all for today, and tomorrow we'll start from here. If you have or anyone has any questions, I'm still here for another hour, and I'm open to any questions or anyone who wants to understand anything. Sure. Mohammed said that you will share the questions. Yes, please share the questions. Let's say if I'm not able to answer on a WhatsApp group, you can type the question in WhatsApp, and in the next lecture, you can ask the question, and I'll take those questions first and then move on to the next one. In the meantime, try deleting the server and recreate the servers. So just recreate, just have it on your fingertip, also go through this knowledge. Okay, guys. See you guys tomorrow, and thank you so much for participation.
Adnan Bhai, it's Human. I have a question.
Yes, Human.
Just thank you so much for the really good
No
video.
problem.
I follow up for instruction, and just this time for me is actually focused to the hands-on experience. And I start to work by myself and create virtual machine, and it's really understandable right now for me how I working. But I would like to know if you have any advice or recommendation, because as you know, in the job market, main concern is the Active Directory. Right now, I see this Active Directory coming with cloud both together. Just I'm wondering to know, do we follow whatever we had in the past, and I can review, some points and some instruction we had in the past, or this lecture is totally different from that one we had before?
Okay. So, Human, since you have been through, you already know servers, you already know IP addresses, and you also somewhat know Active Directory as well. Okay. So I would advise that you need a lot of practice. You do need a lot of practice on this. So I would advise, this training is to become an expert of Active Directory. Okay. But I am going slow. This is still the second lecture on this, and I have to go slow because there are many students who are just starting with this. So we will eventually, by the end of the training, we will reach to an expert level. We'll go through Active Directory, we'll go through physical and logical structure, we'll go through OUs and users and permissions and logging and everything. But in the meantime, let's say if you want to go a bit faster, you can go through my videos. You can go through the videos for Active Directory in 2012 and in 2008 as well.
And also, do you offer the cloud-based too, as we had the training before, or you didn't?
For Azure?
No, because we had a cloud 3 all together, AWS, Azure.
No, that one was not started. That was not started.
Okay, good. Because as
when
much
it is started, then I'll let you know.
Sure, good. Because honestly, I'm feeling bad about myself, because if I patient more regard the hands-on experience, just 2-3 years ago when you were in Canada, the result was much more better than for me. But I'm appreciated. It's really good, and especially your class is totally different from experience I had in the past, and I'm glad I joined to the class and review everything and coming in my mind, especially in lab. Right now you sharing, it's really good for me, because right now I can see the view for cloud-based and what's going to be happening.
Excellent. Human, I really appreciate you're appreciating my work, my classes here, and as long as you're with me in these trainings, you will for sure you will be able to understand everything. I'll try my best as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, sir. This is Alamgir.
Yes, Alamgir, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Somehow we didn't get 2008 ISO, so I installed 2012. Is that okay if I keep on doing 2012, or I should start from 2008?
No, it's fine, because we will be installing 2012 as well, but you should get a feel of 2008 as well. So I will upload 2008, I will upload 2016 and 19 as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, we should install all of them, or just one by one?
No, so for now we are just working on 2008. So tomorrow in the lab we'll work on 2008 and then we will upgrade it to 2012. So we'll go step by step.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're most welcome.
Adnan bhai, are you still there?
हेलो जी जी अमीन भाई मैं इधर ही हूँ